Greetings in the love and light of the Infinite Creator. I'm Andrii Zvorygin, joined here with Adam, Fred, Dan, and Ed, and we will be looking at healing the wounds of bullying using the Confederation perspective. And if we're finished discussing that, we will move on to reading the next June session. All right, so let's dig in to the healing the wounds of bullying. Now, I'm just, oh, there we go. Just fixing the screen here so that everyone can see. Okay, from early childhood to adult encounters, the Confederation teachings shed light on deep emotional and spiritual roots of bullying. Seen through the lens of unity, compassion, and healing, bullying is revealed not just as a social ill, but as a catalyst for growth, self-awareness, and transformation. Points for seekers: understanding bullying spiritually. Early wounds and the formation of fear. Bullying often begins in the formative years. Confederation recognizes how early experiences where the voices of authority and peers challenge or dismiss the young self can create deep emotional scars. Perhaps the brother, the sister, the aunt put one in a bullying position or only bullied the seeker. It has been compromised into fear by the voices that it hears have power over it. These early experiences condition behavior and may instill long-term fear patterns influencing the spiritual path until addressed with love and understanding. Okay, guys, what did you want to reflect on this, or you want me to continue reading?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about what we were talking about before.
Okay. What
came in? We were talking with Fred.
Okay, go
about
ahead.
a situation.
Okay.
Not Fred, but Ed, and I
Okay.
felt like Ed was getting bullied, but
okay.
Without like spilling all the details, Ed, it feels like a bully could also be two-faced in a sense. Do we?
Oh no,
have anything?
there's definitely the capabilities for passive aggressiveness in bullying. I've experienced that in places that I've worked, and attempted bullying. I'm curious what they have to say mostly about how to handle it from a law of one perspective, and I mean a balanced law of one perspective, not a martyrous mechanism. I don't want to. I what I'm saying is I don't want to do the turn the other cheek thing. Hi, Benny. I want to know what they have to say about balance, because we're clearly told that martyrdom isn't a wise path if you want to, spread the law of one.
But also recognizing what is bullying truly, like what are some verbiages or examples to see if we're truly being bullied and it's not someone just trying to let their ego out and tell at us what we're supposed to be.
Victim claiming.
Right. So it says martyrdom is not a balanced expression of love, for it denies the love of self in the favor of love of other. Thus, enduring bullying without taking steps to assert boundaries or preserves one's well-being may distort the heart's energy, especially if it results in resentment or depletion. Seekers are encouraged to meet the bully with compassion, not by absorbing the negativity, but by recognizing their pain and choosing responses rooted in both love and discernment. These entities may seem large in bullying, but they are sad souls fully worthy of compassion. This approach allows one to remain open-hearted without enabling harmful behavior. Compassion does not require acquiescence, non-violent assertion, and inner work. The Confederation teaches that recognizing anger and working with it internally is essential. Responding with clarity rather than emotional reactivity helps avoid becoming part of the cycle of aggression. Do the work that the anger offers you. Refrain from sharing those difficulties. Determine what a just communication and what is a bullying or manipulative conversation. Avoiding energetic entanglement. When faced with bullying or aggression, the advice is to avoid being drawn into the energy of the attacker. Holding the space with love and neutrality can often be more powerful than reacting. When you gaze upon the rude address of negativity, reach out your hand in compassion. To heal negativity is to take it into the open heart and love it. That does not imply passivity. It implies mastery of self and offering love without expectation of submission.
So hold on right there. Does
Mhm.
that tie into the understanding of forgiveness halts karma?
I believe so. So can I give a personal example that happened to me yesterday?
Sure.
So yesterday, we went cherry picking, and I'm having some delicious cherries in my yogurt. But when we got back, my neighbor was waiting for us, and he was belligerent and harassing us. And he wanted me to do yard work for him for free immediately. And he said he didn't care that I was busy and that I had a business to run and a family to be with. And so if I had chosen the martyrdom path, I would have just done what he told me, but I did not. I held my ground. I told him I'm not a slave, and that he can't force me to do that. And then later he escalated by threatening. He said that if I don't do the yard work immediately that he wants done, then he will pour gasoline on my yard. That's threat, physical endangerment. And my wife heard this as well, and we called the police. We asserted our boundaries, and the police came and they talked to him. And but it turns out that he decided to go ahead and do it anyways. And so what do you call it? We're left with, he poured gasoline on my primroses and killed a lot of my primroses, and it also smelled like gasoline very strongly at the front of our house, and so our whole house smelled like gasoline, and I got a terrible headache. Like I was out of commission for most of the rest of the day as a result. So he caused me bodily harm. And then I think he must have inhaled a lot of the gasoline as well. So in terms of the compassion aspect is this. So, when I was thinking about it, I wasn't ruminating about how I'm going to get back at him or anything like that. I was thinking about him and his situation and where he's at. And I was considering the fact that well, actually later in the evening, so he was falling over a lot. And like the first time, like he fell over when he was pointing to a plant on his yard that he wanted me to remove. He fell down, and then he couldn't get back up, and I helped him back up. And then when he was carrying his gasoline canister, I thought this was before he had uttered his threat. I thought he was gonna get the weed whacker or something, so I didn't think much of it. But he fell over while carrying his gasoline canister and started swearing a lot. And because he wasn't receptive to help, I didn't help him, and then he crawled into his house because he couldn't get up. And then later in the evening, now yesterday I didn't know he had actually poured the gasoline. Even though it smelled like gasoline, I thought it was just because he had left his canister out. But anyhow, so what happened was that he fell down again, but he was unable to get back up. And then, the police, I had to call the paramedics because I couldn't reach him since he has a very highly aggressive dog that barks and tries to bite anyone that comes nearby. And so anyways, the paramedics came, they had to call the police, and they managed to get the dog inside the house, and he was taken to the hospital. But then I was thinking about it, and I've been feeling, basically sensing the alcohol on his breath for many months, maybe years now. But recently it has been less. There's been less of an alcohol smell, and I thought that maybe he was doing less alcohol. But the reality is, when the paramedics were questioning him, was that he said he had a bottle and a half of wine that day. and he didn't smell like alcohol. And I looked it up, and what it is it's end stage liver disease. So it's when the liver has failed so much that it's no longer able to excrete the alcohol, and the alcohol just stays in the blood and continues to destroy the body and the brain. And so basically, he's drinking this alcohol and it's just staying in his body and destroying him. And so he feels like in a lot of pain. And his brain is being destroyed and his body's being destroyed. And another thing is that it's not able to synthesize the proteins properly, and that's why his muscles are failing him, because that's the only source of amino acids in his body is the muscles that he had before his liver failed. And so his muscles are cannibalizing themselves in order to provide for the essential functions of his body. And so I have compassion for him in terms of understanding his medical condition. And I reached out to him in an email saying that he should consider getting a personal support worker, or possibly not drinking so heavily. Well, I didn't mention anything about the drinking because basically he left the hospital because they wouldn't let him drink there, because he wanted to go back to drinking. So that's kind of the situation that I'm in there. But yeah, when I found out today that he had actually poured the gasoline, then I had called the police again, and the police were very cooperative and had a stern chat with him that hopefully he won't do it again, and they recommended that I put up cameras because that's what's needed in a Canadian court of law for a conviction if he does something like that again. I don't know if that helps anybody. What do you guys think? No, it doesn't help, Adam?
I think you could have done a lot better, but that's just me. But I understand it's a in general situation that's probably building up, and he's a difficult person. But yeah, it's a really tough one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, is he generally a difficult person with everyone, or is he just specifically you?
Well, I am his closest neighbor, and he doesn't interact with anybody else.
Oh,
He's kind of a hermit. He just pays someone to mow his lawn, and he used to pay someone to walk his dog, but it seems like he destroyed those relationships because no one's willing to walk his dog anymore.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Because I know
his wife used to live with him, but she moved out months ago.
Right. So you see a downward spiral somewhere in there.
It's been going on for years. When he moved in, he was kind of like a chubby guy. He was an IT professional, but he was always kind of angry, and he was always, out to get me, and trying to, do what he could to be a pain in my life. Like, calling the bylaw officers on me and things like this. But I was always responding in compassion and kindness to the best of my ability. And, there was a point where things were going relatively well in terms of I had explained to him about, forgiveness, kindness, and love for all beings. And he was okay with that. And it helped to reduce because he used to yell at me a lot. And I guess he must have felt some resentment towards himself or something like that about his voice. Anyway, so he got mouth cancer or tongue cancer or something like this. And so I explained to him that he can just do the work of forgiving himself and, speaking the truth and all that. But he said, yeah, I don't believe that. I'm going to get the surgery. He got the surgery, and then his mouth inflated like a balloon and filled up his mouth where he can barely speak and he can't consume solid foods. So, I mean, that's a bit of a karma there. And so after I told him about this forgiveness, love, and kindness, like years afterwards, when he was willing to listen to me, he practiced it, and his tongue condition did get better for a while anyways. But a few weeks ago, he told me that he no longer believes about forgiveness and love and kindness, and that because he had to talk to his in-laws, and that made him feel uncomfortable, and therefore there must be no God. And I explained to him that love is not about comfort. It is about, when you let God into your heart, it's about learning to be kind to people, even when they're being mean to you. And so, he actually thanked me for that email, but his follow-up was, the more recent threats and pouring gasoline on my front yard and killing my primroses. I don't know. Anyone has an assessment on that?
At least he didn't set it on fire.
Yes, I agree. And that was one of my big concerns, and the reason I called the police is because, gasoline is a highly flammable substance, and I was concerned he would light the house on fire. It is a very
Yeah,
hot...
I went through that.
People lighting your house on fire?
No, I remember when my ex had her sister come in the house and turn the gas on.
Oh, really?
House, I had to call the police.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And, they're offering this negative catalyst. So, Adam, what is your assessment? I don't know. I give you a little more context.
I mean, it's still a tough situation. I wouldn't be emailing anyone. I'd be doing it all in person. Like, it's like some words need to be shared or exchanged.
Oh,
but
well, I've talked to him
like he's just
a lot in
dead
person.
set on his ways.
It's just that, unfortunately, since his brain deterioration is so far gone, it's hard for him to remember what I said at the beginning of the conversation at the end of the conversation. And we seem to have the same conversations over and over again. And so an email is kind of like he can read over the email as many times as he needs.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, makes sense. How old is he?
72.
Yeah. I wouldn't interact with people that old, but that's just
well,
me.
It's my neighbor. I have no choice.
What do you think, Dan?
I think that because there was no physical harm, I would have acted in the same way as Andrii. Except maybe I would go further and make sure I'll persecute him, given he did what he did. I need to be balanced and I need to be protected. If I don't feel safe, then that's going to cause issues for me. And I feel like
you mean prosecute?
I'll think about it further, but before I would prosecute, maybe when he's sober, I'll talk to him and see what's up. Like, hey, can we work this out? I think I'll take that approach. That makes more sense to just talk to him when he's sober.
That doesn't happen though.
Oh, then I'll prosecute him. You got to watch for yourself.
He's a chronic alcoholic. All right, he left the hospital.
Would you want to be prosecuted as a 72-year-old? Spend the last few years in jail or whatever just because of your karma, or you're like, I forgive it. There's nothing yet to have happened, but I'm gonna put the cameras up to make sure nothing happens. But I would do everything in my power to not make them go to jail. But I'm sure if they're acting some type of way and they need some help, but I don't think jail is where they're gonna get that.
They might find that peace in jail. Maybe that's what they need to get that pause and like reassess themselves and question things. Even at 72, you can wake up.
I just would never personally put someone in the system that I don't already believe in. So if you don't believe in the system, now maybe Dan believes jail is great for Americans and people to reform themselves, but I've looked at other systems and I don't think the American jail system, it's privatized, it's It's horrible, but maybe things
Mhm.
are different in Canada.
Yeah, no, in Canada, nobody goes to prison. I mean, people commit murder regularly, and they get out on bail a few days later.
Right.
No,
What do
really,
you want to know? I
that's Canada.
believe you.
Yeah,
I
it,
believe you.
it, so I mean, like, it's just the discomfort of being arrested and charged, or having to pay a fine or something like this.
What do y'all want to know about
So
jail and
my
prison?
recommendation to him was actually to get a personal support worker, someone that he can interact with other than me. I can't be his only social point of contact because I'm too busy. I've got 2 businesses to run and a family to take care of.
Do you guys want to know the epitome of jail while I'm walking home?
Sure.
You just kind of, well, not only they are torturing you in there by unsaid things, but you just kind of sit there and do nothing. And every once in a while you might spread, you might have a good time, but it's all bad. Freaking, I was miserable in there. I'll never go back. So that's all I'll tell you. And I'm enjoying this talk today. I'm sorry some guy tried to light your yard on fire. you know, I would look into dementia or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's something more than alcohol,
Well,
So,
yes, it's considered it's a form of alcohol-induced dementia, but
yeah,
it's just the amount of brain damage
right.
by the alcohol is
And-
it's basically irreversible at this point at
And,
his age.
and you're right, it is. And I've dealt with that. My baby mother, she's all her muscles died. Everything you said is on film. I'm walking through the city, so I'm looking for cars. But you know, all her muscles died. Her temples are sunken. And she had a liver transplant in 18 days. And then I didn't know that week on video, but it was really a stressful week. She called me that past October and said, if I keep drinking, I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna keep drinking. So, freaking, I don't have anything to say. Let me get in the house where I can focus, and we're gonna talk later, guys. But
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry that happened and you got treated like that. She's done many things to me too, like that, lighting bathrooms on fire, everything. So,
And
we will talk.
Yeah, in Canada, you have to be sober for at least 6 months before they'll even consider giving you a liver transplant. So he's not eligible.
Hers was, they don't in America usually give it to you because of alcohol, but it's also because of mental health issues. So, she luckily went into that long-term place in 18 days. She doesn't have a full match, but she got 5 to 15 years left, So, it's like that here too. But let me go run in the house. I'm going to be listening to this. You guys keep on going. This is fire.
Thanks. All right. So, in summary, the Confederation teaching on bullying invites us to embrace compassion without becoming a martyr, acknowledge anger and pain without judgment, assert boundaries with love and clarity. Like, for example, I told him that he can hire someone to do his own yard work. So that's clarity. I'm not saying he's not allowed to do yard work. Understand that the bully too is the creator, albeit a deeply wounded. And this is particularly true in this case because he's deeply, deeply wounded in his liver and his brain, and also his aggressive dog often scratches him and plague bites him, and he has these bleeding lesions on his arms, and they don't heal because his liver has failed to the point where it can't produce the clotting parts of the blood. So he's just constantly bleeding. And choose responses that honor both self and the other as sacred beings. And he has the divine within him. And personally, my personal kind of hope for him is that he turns to, Jesus Christ and forgiveness, love, and kindness, and inherits the kingdom before he passes. He passes. And I am, studying to be a doula, end-of-life doula. And maybe if he's open to it, because he likes hiring me to do things for him. I'm just not available right now. But in the autumn, I might be able to be an end-of-life doula for him to help him with his passage to the next life. So, I don't know if you guys have any comments on that. Fred, what do you think?
So if you look out in your backyard one day and you just see him dead, sprawled out in the backyard, would it be considered STS to utilize that moment to do like one of those things like what Ed talked about, where you make like a what's that called? Negregore out of the immediate dead thing's spirit, so it helps you the rest of your life?
I don't know what you're talking about, but if I saw him,
What's that called, Ed? What's the name of that?
I'm not sure that you could get a human ghost to become your tulpa or servitor. But I mean, it's worth a try. But I think that's pretty much necromancy, dude. Just to say.
Yeah, that sounds like the darkest magic I've ever heard of. No, if I saw him sprawled out, just like the last time I saw him sprawled out, I would call an ambulance.
I wouldn't say the darkest magic ever. I mean, Gink's lovely, but he's a fox. Doing that with a human, different thing.
All right. Yes, that
would give you an opportunity.
Is your representation of your spirit guide, right? So,
well, to be fair, I do think of him as his own little independent thing. Like, we have communicated. He is what he is, and we've made a deal. I have no power over him.
Mm-hmm.
I went through a process, and he has made a choice to accompany me.
Okay.
I suppose you could do that with a human, but he's a bit sketchy. I'm not sure I'd be up taking that kind of responsibility.
Yeah, I'm not a necromancer. Or
no,
anything like
I mean,
that.
Gink really, he kind of ideally he wants to become like the Fox Buddha. Like he wants to learn so much that he can help to elevate the entire fox, species up a step.
Mm-hmm.
But look how much you've learned about foxes in doing that.
Yeah, I have to say, I told you that past life regression I had that went to, for some reason, it ended up going to a fox planet and seeing kind of the morphogenic evolution of the first fox creature that has then been, has then evolved separately on thousands of other planets. And they could fly, and they had this little spinning thing above their head to communicate with one another, and it was fucking beautiful. It was beautiful, man.
Okay. Now, wait a minute. Hear me out, Andre.
Okay.
What if, and you could even email him if you want, what if you asked him permission to do that if you're the first person to find him?
I'm not gonna do that. No, you know
okay,
what?
Also, Fred.
I already told you that I want
one. I had to wait for Gink to completely rot because nature has to take back its course.
That's why you send him an email.
A little shrine around some dead next door neighbor.
That would be the weirdest and creepiest possible email a person could send to another person.
Yeah, 100%.
No, hear me out. one of two things is going to happen. Either he's going to say, sure, that sounds weird, but whatever. Or he's never going to speak to you again, and he sure as hell ain't going to pour gasoline on your petunias.
I don't know, man. No, I think that the more likely scenario is I would get a knock on the door from a psychiatric evaluation.
Well, I think
It's
that
your
leads to your
religious
problems, dude.
right.
If you're trying to get your next door neighbor to be a dead servitor, no, it needs that.
Yeah, man, and that has nothing to do with my belief system. If you want to do that to your neighbor, go right ahead, but that has nothing to do with the Confederation, and it has nothing to do with me. Like I said, I already said that my goal is to help him to inherit the kingdom of God through forgiveness, love, and kindness, understanding that all is well and all will be well, and recognizing the divine within himself and his spouse and his in-laws and his extended family and all beings. That's my goal. That's my goal for all beings. It doesn't change. I have no interest in service to self-servitors or anything like this.
Hey, King is not service to self.
Okay, you have a familiar spirit, which is your friend or whatever.
Yeah, I have a ghost. I have a friend that is a little ghost. I have a pet that is a ghost.
Okay, and that
What is bad about that?
He's an animal that is kind of like a disincarnate pet.
Exactly.
He's similar to that. What's that? Halloween, Christmas, nightmare before Christmas dog. There, this guy. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Kinda, but
Zero.
Like, yeah, it's just
The
more,
Nightmare Before
more like an
Christmas
actual
dog.
kind of fox.
Yeah, exactly. Except he's exactly a fox instead of a dog. There you go.
Adorable.
Yes. Here. There's the image. See? You can imagine this is Ed. And this is his pet gink.
It's weird. If you take off the beard, that's basically what I look like.
That's funny. All right. Anyways, did we want to move on to another topic, or did you guys have more catalyst regards to bullying that we can process?
So, I mean, at what point in time does the boundary get approached? When the boundary gets approached to where, somebody starts actually getting physical with you? What does there? I know that's all strictly 3D, but we're in 3D. So, like, literally, what is the protocol when things start to get physical? Like, your example is one aspect of it. That's getting where things are getting physical. But, say somebody comes raging at you in traffic, in road rage, getting out of their car and starts, trying to grab you through the window or something. There is.
I know for me, when I am faced with road rage, I always respond with blessings, such as saying, "May you have peace, love, and kindness, forgiveness, compassion, and purpose." That's usually what I do, and it tends to work for me.
That always sorts them right out, doesn't it?
It usually does. Oh, Rael, did you want to say something or introduce yourself? Rael? Okay, I don't know. Maybe they don't. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I do. Basically, I give them blessings of love and kindness and forgiveness and peace.
Well, those who gives blessings are blessed, right?
I guess. I mean, I feel you know, in general, like I have a fairly blessed life. I mean, though there are specific instances like yesterday where, you know, my neighbor physically harmed me through gasoline fumes, and I was in excruciating pain for half the day because of
Well, I think personally, you should
migraine.
just learn some kickboxing. Just go kick his ass.
That's not going to help anybody.
Well, I mean, you know,
that would put me in like jeopardy, you know.
well, any more than petrol fumes?
Man, he's dying. He's dying.
Well,
There's
then it should be easy.
you're
Mate,
joking.
I'm joking,
Obviously.
dude. I'm
You're
joking.
joking,
God, seriously,
obviously.
kidding.
You know, but can we keep it a little bit more serious, please? Like
Honestly,
you're suggesting criminal behavior, and you know I don't like that.
I don't agree or endorse any of that. I completely
Okay.
agree. To be fair, I was going to say that I have no idea what your problem is at all, dude. Like, so
Me?
what? He spilled some petrol. I don't think he was going to set it on fire. You know, if I were you, I'd just be going and giving the guy hugs. Do his bloody yard work for him. He's pissed up. He's fucking
I can't.
not well.
I have
Just
to.
sort the
I
geezer
have to
out,
assert
man.
my boundaries. I have to assert my boundaries. I can't become a
Yeah,
martyr
he's
in this.
72, dude. Just fucking sort yourself out.
I am not going to destroy my business and my family to serve a dying alcoholic.
I'm pretty certain that like you sorted out his garden wouldn't have done that. But anyway, it is
Yes,
what it is,
it
dude.
would have.
You know the situation better. I'm just saying that's how I just dealt with it.
Yeah. So, anyhow,
Yeah, but I understand what Ed's saying because, see, not everyone would respond the same way you did. Like, if someone did that to me here, if my neighbor came over and poured flowers or poured gasoline on my flowers near my house and it caused a problem like that, I could not say that I would respond the same way. But at the same time, you guys in Canada don't have firearms. So things like that, I think, I don't even know. Well, I mean, I can't say that anything can happen anywhere, but I know almost for certain that I wouldn't have responded the same way you did. They would have definitely gotten a visit from me personally, and it would have been very assertive, not threatening, not violent, but I would have had the ability to defend myself if I was assaulted, and I would make sure that they knew if they ever did anything like that again, that it would end differently, and I wouldn't be so loving next time, and they wouldn't even know until it was too late. That's probably what I would say in a roundabout way to them. And I don't know if that's STS or STO, and that's kind of what I want to know when we're looking at it through the lens of law of
Right.
one, because that's how I would handle it.
so yeah, that would, at least in my opinion, be certainly going towards the realm of service itself because there's a threat and it's a fear, anger, control bit. What I'm hearing.
But see, I don't view it that way at all.
It's just that you're trying, you know, well, I know I also, you know, calling the police is also a kind of, you know, threat, you could say, or a control mechanism. But it is also asserting a boundary.
That's how I view it, because I'm not threatening you with anything. What I'm saying is, if you're going to continue behaving this way, you're crossing a boundary. You just crossed a boundary. If you do it again, it's going to end differently because I'm going to react differently, and you know better now. That's giving you fair. That's saying, if you don't stop doing XYZ in this factory, we're going to drop a missile on it. And I mean, you're giving them fair warning. I don't really see that as aggression, unless you're aggressing something that's immoral or unjust or removing someone else's free will. Like, I'm not going to say, you better cut this tree down in your yard or I'm going to cut it down. That's aggressive. But if, somebody's doing something to you and you say, hey, you can't do that to me, I view that as a form of crossing my boundary. If you do that again, I'm going to react, might be violently. I'm going to defend myself. I will consider it an assault, and I will defend myself. And I
know
don't really.
you guys have castle law in America where you're allowed to use deadly force to defend your property or whatever. And
In most
Texas.
states, some
Yeah.
states.
Okay, yeah. So, that is different than, the Canadian situation where that's definitely not an option.
But which one's correct? According to Law 1.
According to Law of 1. Okay, hold on. What is Confederation or Law of 1 perspective on castle law?
I think you're fine with a few incidents like this here and there. I mean, as long as your overall SEO, you don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, a lot of it is intention.
Get him a bottle of whiskey. Like, hey,
Yeah.
cheers.
I would not do that. I don't drink, and I don't want to encourage his health to deteriorate any further. The Confederation has channeled in a Law of 1. Okay. Property is not sacred. Consciousness is. The Confederation teaches that property, being part of the illusion, holds no intrinsic spiritual value. What matters is consciousness and intent behind actions. Those possessions which you treasure are not your possessions, but are distortions of love and light. Using deadly force to protect material possessions, even if sanctioned by human law, involves choosing an action that may significantly depolarize the self, especially if it takes a life. Deadly force has profound spiritual ramifications. Taking a life, even in defense of property, is considered a serious karmic event. The Confederation consistently emphasizes the sanctity of life, and killing is seen as a severe infringement on another soul's free will. When one entity consciously takes the life of another, the ramifications are profound and often require balancing in future incarnations. 1981-04-12. Thus, the use of deadly force, even in what human law may deem justified, requires spiritual reckoning. Protection must be balanced with compassion and wisdom. The Confederation does acknowledge the instinct to protect, especially loved ones. However, the suggested spiritual is nonviolence, discernment, and balance between love and wisdom. There is a use of love and protection which does not martyr the self, but rather seeks to preserve the opportunity for continued service. This implies that non-lethal means, if possible, are more spiritually congruent than lethal responses. A higher law than castle doctrine. While the castle doctrine is based on legal and cultural norms, the Law of 1 proposes a higher law, unity and respect for the Creator and all beings. From this perspective, responding to theft or intrusion with lethal force focuses on separation and fear, not love and unity. Summary, deadly force of property is not spiritually aligned with the Law of 1. Killing creates karmic entanglement regardless of legal jurisdiction. Seekers are encouraged to respond with love, discernment, and creative nonviolence. Protecting life, one's own, others may be appropriate, but with the least harm possible. Let go of attachment to possessions. Recognize them as part of the illusion.
Okay, so when those kids tried to rob me up and the kid pulled a knife out on me and that, yeah, I had to fight both of them. I got the knife off him, whatever, and I could have gone mad. I could literally chopped them both up, fed them to the badgers or whatever else. Fact is, I got the knife. And I literally just said, "Get the fuck out."
Very good.
Once I had control, they weren't able to hurt me. Then forgiveness, love, compassion.
Yeah. I think you dealt very well.
I don't need to hurt them because they tried to hurt me.
You prevented yourself being martyred, and you were compassionate in terms of letting them leave unharmed.
Mostly unharmed.
You protected life. That's very good.
That's it.
I know.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Andrii. Sorry.
I mean, to give a contrasting thing, when I was a kid, I had I wasn't familiar with some things anyway. So I went to a video cafe. Do you remember those? I don't know if you remember those, but anyways, to play video games. And I had brought my wallet with me, and it had my entire life savings in it, which was like $100. And there was some guy who was standing at the cashier stuff, and he was snooping in people's wallets. And when I went out to my bike afterwards, he was there with a guy with a very large hunting knife. and they robbed me, and I just gave them my money, and then I went home. But I did not feel that I could take these two much older boys with a big knife, and I didn't feel it was worth risking my life.
I almost made one of them stab himself in the face with his own knife.
Yes, well, I mean, if he was attacking you with a knife, you were defending yourself. I understand. It might be like it's possible that in that situation, even if you had given them everything you wanted, they would have asked for more. So it's up to everyone's discernment what is the best thing, and it sounds like it worked out well for you and them in terms of that. Hopefully they won't make the same mistake in the future.
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
That'd make it worthwhile me going through it so that no one else had to go through it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
So if your life is in danger, you're supposed to defend yourself with the least amount of harm possible. So basically what that's saying is NATO ammunition is centered with Law of One, because that's the whole point. It's supposed to wound, not kill.
NATO ammunition?
Yeah, NATO rounds. Yeah, any ball ammunition, it's NATO. Anything. Well, you guys don't have guns, but when you go buy ammo, there's all kinds of ammo you can buy. But if you get, like, say you buy 9mm full metal jacket, that's a NATO round, meaning that it's legal in warfare.
Okay.
And the reason that they make ammo like that is because when you shoot someone with it, it has the least amount of ability of actually killing them. If it hits you, it usually goes into you or through you and doesn't like splinter and kill you. It just injures you and takes you out of being able to be combat ready. That's the whole purpose of a weapon, is to remove the enemy's combat ability.
Okay, so here we have an answer. Your friends claim that NATO rounds cause the least harm possible, likely stems from military or tactical framework, not a spiritual one. In conventional terms, 5.56mm NATO rounds are designed to wound rather than kill outright, based on the logic that wounding ties up more enemy resources than killing does. However, from the Confederation's spiritual perspective, this reasoning does not align with the Law of One. Here's how the Confederation would likely respond to this idea. From the spiritual view, the least harm is a measure of energetic intention, karmic consequence, and impact on unity consciousness, not merely reduced physical lethality. A NATO round, even if designed to wound rather than kill, is still a tool of violence, separation, and control. Intention defines the energetic charge. Ra and Kuo consistently emphasize that intention behind the use of force is what determines the spiritual consequence. If the intent is to injure, dominate, or coerce, even if less lethal, it carries the same vibratory distortion as a more deadly alternative. Least harm spiritually is often nonviolent. To love the aggressor is not to submit to aggression. Spiritual least harm is found in avoiding harm altogether through compassion, boundaries, wisdom, and when necessary, non-lethal means of de-escalation. Weapons by design are rarely aligned with this goal. There is no clean kill in the Law of One. Even a humane weapon, if used to control or injure, participates in the illusion of separation and generates karma for the wielder. The Confederation would gently but clearly say there's no violence that leaves the spirit untouched. If your friend is open to it, I'd offer this perspective not to challenge but invite. Would you like a way to frame the conversation to friend and gentle? Anyhow, well, you heard it already.
I like that. There is no violence that leaves the spirit untouched.
Yes.
What's that quote from?
Okay.
Or is it just a paraphrase?
Oh, that's a paraphrase. Though I have to say there is one quote that I found that with full Blu-ray activation, if you have all 5 of the, then it is possible, what do you call it, to do, the lethal with wisdom. So say, for instance, you have a serial killer on the loose and he is in the middle of killing a bunch of innocent people, and then you shoot down the person, the gunman. that is something that can be done out of compassion to reduce the amount of killing going on. But I would give an example here that, for example, in Canada, this isn't the police is trained in what's called de-escalation. And so we have had instances where, say, a serial rampage killer who was killing people with his van, and he had a gun. And then a policeman, without having a gun, managed to convince him to lay down his weapon and to come peaceably and be arrested. And so cases like this do happen. So it is a creative non-violent solution, even to a rampaging serial killer.
Well, what is the weapon?
Hypnosis.
What do you mean? So the rampaging serial killer in this instance, okay. If they have a
weapon like that, they need to deploy it in the Middle East.
It's not a weapon. It's called de-escalation.
Sounds like a weapon to me.
Okay. All right. Where Toronto policeman
de-escalation gun. That sounds like something
it's
that would
not
be
a
on
gun.
a Looney Tunes
No, he
cartoon.
used words. He talked to him. He talked him down. Someone
Fred is
who
so funny.
was running over people with a van, armed with a gun, into giving themselves into custody. Searching the web. Okay, 2018. There we go. Toronto van attack where a single Toronto police officer successfully de-escalated the suspect, Alec Minassian, even when he threatened the officer with a weapon. Here's how it unfolded and why it's relevant. The de-escalation. In April 23rd, 2018, Minassian, after driving into pedestrians and apparently armed, exited his vehicle and pointed an object at Constable Ken Lamb. Lamb calmly responded to the police, say the suspect threatened kill me, and later I have a gun in my pocket. Lamb's measured reply, I don't care, get down. By insisting calmly and holding space, Lamb successfully persuaded Minassian to drop the object, lie prone, and surrender, all without firing a single shot. Key takeaways from law enforcement training. De-escalation over escalation. Toronto police training emphasizes reducing threat levels, not increasing them. Measured calm. Lamb maintained a steady presence, neither threatening nor reactive, allowing Mr. Minassian to de-escalate voluntarily. Proportional response. Lamb switched from drawn firearm to baton once he assessed the object was non-lethal, opting for less lethal control. How this aligns with Confederation wisdom. Response from presence and compassion. The officer's calm clarity mirrors Confederation guidance to stand in love without yielding to fear or aggression. Minimal force principle. Even in danger, Lamb used the least force necessary, resonating with spiritual idea to preserve life and consciousness. Maintaining unity amid conflict. Treating Minassian as a wounded entity, not an enemy, reflects the Confederation's teachings that even aggressors are souls worthy of compassion. Practical reflection. Okay. There you go. So, real-world examples demonstrate that humans can and do resolve extreme threats using presence, de-escalation, and proportional response. So, what do you think of that?
I still think it's a little, I don't know, it's a little soft. I guess maybe I have different world experiences than most people. I never had an experience like that, but I have had an experience where my friend accidentally bumps into a blind drunk biker at a bar that results in him being very angry and having to physically get between them to keep my friend from being murdered. And it was very hectic. I don't know what you're supposed to do. I don't know actually what I would have done if that dude would have grabbed me. But, those are my types of things when I'm looking at someone trying to be a bully. Usually in my experience, it results in some sort of physical altercation, either them getting you to a point to where you have to physically touch them to move, or they are already doing something to you. So I just want more clarity, I guess, on the law of one perspective on maybe bullying is the wrong word. Maybe I'm talking about more like a misdemeanor type assault, you know, because things like that happen. It happens in the workplace. I've been assaulted in the workplace.
Okay, it's looking. Doesn't use legal terminology, but it provides rich guidance on minor physical aggression. Okay, what a misdemeanor assault spiritually? Spiritual term misdemeanor assault, minor but intentional physical aggression, is seen not primarily as a crime but as a distortion in the energy exchange between souls. The Confederation views such actions as a result of unprocessed catalyst, pain, or trauma, a violation of free will, but not necessarily requiring violent counter response, an opportunity for healing both for the aggressor and the one who is harmed. Spiritual response to minor aggression. The Confederation consistently advises responding with love and wisdom, seeking balance rather than retribution. Here's how. Honor your feelings without retaliation. It is acceptable to feel anger. The question is what you do with the anger. Minor assault may trigger fear or rage. Rather than act on it, you're invited to explore those feelings within, asking what it teaches and how love might meet it. Defend without hatred. You can set boundaries and remove yourself from harm without mirroring aggression. To love the aggressor is not to submit to aggression. So, you know, if they're like pushing you or whatever, can walk away or whatever. This means you don't have to allow harm, but you're asked not to become hardened by it either. So, you know, don't close your heart. See the other as a mirror. In the law of one terms, the aggressor is another self. Even when they strike you, they are showing a distortion of the one infinite creator through the veil of fear. Self-defense and karma. Using force in return, if proportional and rooted in true necessity, is not inherently unspiritual. However, intent matters deeply. Defend with clarity and sorrow, not vengeance. Avoid escalation as it entangles the self karmically. Seek resolution, not domination. Summary for your friend. Minor assault is seen as a misuse of catalyst, not just a legal issue. You may defend yourself, but loving boundaries are preferred to retaliation. The real work lies in transformation and inner response, learning, forgiving, and loving from a place of spiritual sovereignty. I'll see if I can get quotes on aggression. Yeah, but what did you think of that so far? Here. On here, quotes. Aggression, summarize for us with quotes.
I don't mean.
Oh boy. It's being silly. I don't know. Rael, did you figure out how to use the unmute yourself, or I don't know if you wanted to say anything? Or Dan, how about you? You haven't said anything.
Yeah, I do. I want to say thank you, brother.
Okay, you're
For
welcome.
this. Yeah, man, very useful.
Very good.
Appreciate everybody.
Glad to hear it's working for you. Okay, so here's a summary of Confederation's teachings on aggression drawn. Suffering from aggression often mirrors unresolved inner aggression. Each soul's reality reflects their own choices. So I think this could be true for you, Fred. You know, like you've mentioned in the past, where you were having aggression in your mind, and then experiencing it in your body from others around you. Human aggression is instinctual and persistent. To transform the world, we must first understand and accept this within ourselves. The root of aggression is fear. The spiritual path asks us to choose love over fear, even when survival instincts tempt us otherwise. Most worldly aggression arises from territorial fear. It's a red race survival reaction. Cultures often justify it as reasonable. Humanity is caught in a cycle of aggression due to spiritual amnesia, repeating patterns of domination from past civilization. The choice is always open: communication instead of aggression, patience instead of reactivity, love instead of fear. Aggression may seem justified in third density, but this reflects the very illusion we are here to transcend. Even justified reactions must later be reconciled with love. Okay, here. I think that we need to delve deeper onto this part.
That does that mean that? See that last part there.
Which part?
The part about any even justified reactions must later be reconciled with love.
Mhm.
That reminds me of like after World War II, when we started sending people to Europe and that to rebuild the cities and to rebuild the bridges and the roads and set up the electric and fix the water. In all these different places after the war was over, we weren't. That tells me that at least the outward intention seems to be a reaction to defense. The intent wasn't to kill everyone and destroy everyone. It was to stop the aggression. And once the aggression was stopped, then we help rebuild. So does that mean then when you don't see that, you're looking at more warlording or imperialism? I don't know. Maybe I'm stretching too far there.
So you're saying that even justified reactions must later be reconciled with love is a justification for Allies' involvement in World War II? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, let's see what that says.
Okay. Okay. What was the Allies'
Nuance.
reaction justified? Yeah, it says you're nuanced. From a third density human perspective, the Allies' involvement in World War II is often seen as necessary, stopping tyranny, protecting lives, preserving freedoms. The Confederation does not dispute such catalysts arise, nor acting to protect can be a valid response. However, they also say any reaction to aggression, even if it protects the self and the other self, likely must be reconciled as an act that separates. This means that even deeply understandable actions like entering a war to stop atrocity carry a metaphysical cost. They reinforce separation, fear, and the illusion of us versus them. So, is war wrong or right? The Confederation avoids the language of right and wrong. Instead, they ask, how does this action affect your polarization toward love or control? They observe that most wars, even when initiated with noble intentions, tend to descend into cycles of fear, hatred, and domination, which pull the soul towards separation, negative polarity. Yet, they also say, we offer you our own love and understanding and encourage those who question these attitudes to take note that polarity is a long journey through many lifetimes. In other words, even wartime decisions made in love and sorrow rather than vengeance can be part of a positive path if the soul involved later reflect, grieve, forgive, and seek healing. Reconciliation after the war. So, yes, even justified reactions must be reconciled with love is a way of describing how spiritual consequences of war must be healed. It's just saying that, like, even if you feel justified, you're still going to bear the karmic responsibility of having to heal it later. Soldiers may need to forgive themselves for what they had to do. Survivors may need to release hatred even after immense trauma. Nations may need to seek peace beyond victory, building bridges rather than remaining locked in fear. Yeah, these are all mandatory parts of the post-war process. The Confederate, or of the peace process. The Confederation seeking this healing work as essential for individuals and for humanity evolution. Okay, I see someone's hand up. Dan, go ahead.
Yeah, that's really a goal in life, I guess. Now learning what I've or seeing this right in retrospect is to like be able to in a moment be calm and make that decision, or just be natural that you choose. You can see the creator in someone else, and you react appropriately, with calmness. And I'm not there yet. I know that for a fact. And, but that's a goal.
Hmm. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I know. It's like I'm not perfect either. Like I have limitations. There's only so many things that I can do in a day. And so I can't be everything that my neighbor wants me to be, and everything that my customers want me to be, and everything that my family wants me to be at the same time. I have to pick and choose, for example.
Prioritize.
Exactly. I have to prioritize, and my family and my customers take precedence over delusional requirements from a neighbor who's unfortunately uh with an extreme brain disorder from excessive alcohol consumption. All right. So, but yeah, forgive yourselves for what you have to do. So for me, yeah, I forgive myself for what I had to do. Survivors may need to release hatred even after immense trauma. I don't hate him. I feel sorry for him because he's dying, and I understand he's very confused and acting out of a place of confusion. Nations may need to seek peace beyond victory, building bridges rather than remaining locked in fear. And that's one of the things that I did by sending that email, diagnosing his medical condition and recommending that he go see a doctor about it and possibly get a home nurse or a personal support worker. I'm trying to help him get that need that he wanted from me that I'm not able to provide, but that he still gets it, if he's willing to cooperate with some entity.
But what does help really look like? Like you're just telling him like, hey, you need to go do this, or you're like giving him the links, calling people, having them call him, say, hey, do you need help? Like helping him set it up so it's easier for him. Or
right.
like,
So what I did is I sent the email and I said, you can print this out and bring it to your doctor. And his doctor would have been able to do everything else. Get him the personal support worker or the home nurse or whatever else, if he wanted that. But yeah, I've talked to multiple people in my area and things like that, and they say that often in cases like this, the person doesn't want a personal support worker. They don't want a home nurse, and there's nothing we can do about that because in Canada, we respect people's free will. Like, there's no intervention against the person's will. Unless there's so there's some exceptional cases if, they're self-harming or something like this, which, alcohol is, but it's kind of so mainstream that.
And if you're not self-harming yourself enough in Canada, they'll ask you if you want to end your own life.
Right, exactly. So, that considered, he's not really far off from, what Canada allows him to do. Is he's basically killing himself with drugs, and that's not really something that Canada would say he's not allowed to do.
do you think if you go and put yourself down in like Canada, is that still the same as like killing yourself type thing?
So there's no laws against suicide in Canada, I don't believe.
But like in the law of one that they don't recommend it. And
yes, that's true.
You'll have to come back and do something. So does like just being stupid and like falling in a river getting eaten by an alligator or something, would that be like killing yourself? Or
not in Canada? Find me an alligator in Canada.
Yeah, you can't find it. You'd have to go to some kind of zoo. I mean, there have been people that have jumped in like polar bear enclosures and gotten eaten, but I think that was in Europe or something. And Confederation perspective. who is drinking himself to death.
I wonder if it makes a difference if suicide, if knowing, or being aware of law of one and you commit suicide versus, not knowing and not being awoken or whatever, out of ignorance. Is there a difference in terms of spiritual harm?
So, from what I recall, there is both. What do you call it? So there are certain cases where the inner plane guides, the in between life people, consider suicide to be an understandable thing. Like, say, for instance, if a person is living in extreme pain and is living in like a completely unacceptable situation, and they end it, and the soul guides would come with love and understanding for that. And but say, for instance, there's some other instances such as where people end their life out of shame, or basically not out of a physical pain, but out of a mental imagination or hallucination. In those cases, the spirit guides would show them alternatives of how they could have continued to live had they chosen to. And maybe they would have shown it to the other case, because even in those extreme physical cases, I know I read Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza recently. Oh, hey, Grace, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I had to log off earlier. I wasn't. Yeah, I'm home now. Grateful to be here. Thank you, Andrii. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, great. Yeah, I hope we didn't scare you off the first time.
No, not at all. Not at all. It wasn't it wasn't a good time for me to actually be able to focus and listen. So.
Oh, okay.
Be back. Thank you.
Fair enough. I don't remember what I was at, but I guess
Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Great book.
Yeah. Becoming Supernatural. So there was this one case that I found quite poignant, where there was a lady and she was progressively losing her hearing, and they were seeing like a tumor in her brain, and basically she had scheduled the surgery or whatever for it. But before that, her husband had convinced her to go to one of these Joe Dispenza meditation retreats, and she was doing the meditation, and then at some point she laid down, and she felt like a blue light and like piercing her head in that area, and then suddenly she could hear again, and she felt the healing. And then when they ran another test, there was no more tumor, and they canceled the surgery. And basically, so miracles are possible. Miracles are possible when people make a dramatic shift for the better. Yeah, that's what I have to say on that. Even those people who may be in a severe physical limitation, I'm saying that if they have a massive spiritual awakening, it's possible that would be lifted. But sometimes it's pre-incarnative choice, or like karma, or who knows. Anyhow, you guys were asking me about Canada's legal stance on suicide and the Confederation spiritual perspective on it. Suicide and self-harm. Attempted suicide is not a crime in Canada. There's no legal penalty for self-harm. However, assisting or counseling suicide, unless under medical assistance in dying, is a criminal offense and punishable by up to 14 years in prison. So, say, for instance, telling someone to get vaccinated would be one of those. MAID, medical assistance in dying. Legal for adults with grievous physical conditions. Eligibility for mental illness alone has been temporarily postponed until March 17, 2027. Alcoholism and self-harming drinking patterns are not made eligible as they don't qualify under current laws. Public health response. Canada's emphasis mental health frameworks for suicide prevention CAMH advises addressing risk factors such as removing access to alcohol and weapons, calling emergency services, and therapy referrals. But you could only do that with a minor, right? Because like an adult, you can't limit them. Confederation perspective, the primacy of compassion. Drinking oneself to death is seen as a sign of profound pain or fear. The Confederation teaches that the response must begin with open-hearted compassion, not judgment. You might hold a silent prayer for their peace or approach with gentle care, addressing the underlying catalyst. The Confederation reminds us that addictive or destructive behavior is a form of unprocessed catalyst, pain, fear, or trauma seeking attention. Inward work through meditation, self-inquiry, or therapy is essential for transformation of these energies. Support without enabling. Help them find practical support, medical, social, or spiritual, without controlling the journey. Love-based intervention says, I am here, I care, I walk beside you, instead of you must get help. Inner work for the helper. Being close to self-harm can trigger heavy emotional responses. The Confederation encourages you to tend to your own heart through prayer, meditation, or grounding, ensuring you don't absorb their pain. Eternal love, not punishment. In the law of one, every soul is sacred and beloved child of the Creator. Self-harm is never beyond healing. Key takeaways. Legally, Canada does not criminalize self-harm. Spiritual, the Confederation advocates compassion, spiritual companionship, inner reflection, and fostering healing, both for the person and yourself. Okay. So yeah, encourage
Is it
them.
the same as regular suicide, or is it assisted suicide same as suicide?
So yeah, so there's regular suicide is when a person does it on their own, and MAID is medical assistance in dying. So if a person, if a person is in end stage liver disease, would they be eligible for MAID?
Grace has a question.
Go ahead, Grace.
Just from my own research about MAID, I live in Canada. I think you do too, Andrii.
Yes, I do.
I'm in Ontario, so I think what it comes down to, from the research that I've done about it and what's come across my path in articles and stuff like that, is it basically comes down to quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and how much life you have left. So it's seen. It's like I think it's the evaluation is like, are we doing this person a mercy? Right.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
yeah. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to elaborate on that.
Yes.
I felt to talk. Thank you. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So for example, a person with end-stage liver disease can be eligible for MAID provided they meet all criteria. They're 18 years or older, mentally capable, and eligible for provincial health care. They must have a grievous and irremediable condition in an advanced state of irreversible decline, causing intolerable suffering that cannot be alleviated under acceptable conditions. Their natural death does not have to be reasonably foreseeable. Since March 17, 2021, MAID includes conditions where death is not imminent. Mental illness alone is excluded. But ESLD is physical condition and thus qualifies if the above criteria are met. So if an individual with end-stage liver disease is suffering terribly, has no hope of recovery, and fulfills other requirements, they may be legally requested to receive MAID in Canada. The Confederation perspective, each soul is sovereign expression of the Creator, free to choose its path, including deeply personal choice to end suffering through MAID. No condemnation arises from seeking dignity. Serious karma requires loving reflection. Life-ending decisions, even with compassionate intent, are spiritually significant. The Confederation emphasizes compassion, deep inner work, and if MAID path is taken, reconciliation and forgiveness towards the self, not guilt. Aloha for suffering souls. For one drinking themselves to death, whether loved one or a stranger, the Confederation calls us to love without judgment, offering compassionate presence and prayer for healing rather than pushing a timeline. Dignity and compassion centered. MAID taken to relieve unbearable physical suffering may be seen as an act towards preserving one's dignity and service potential. What matters most is that the choice comes from a place of love, clarity, and self-honoring, even as reconciles the spiritual impact. So, there you go. What to do if it's your neighbor. Offer gentle compassion. I'm here if you want to talk. If they're considering MAID, spiritual support, prayer and contemplation guide. Okay. Yeah. All right. Anyone want to comment? Bill? I know you had some strong feelings on this topic, didn't you?
Not really. I
No.
think Canada's
okay.
going down a very slippery slope,
Okay.
and they're probably their way they're going to view life is going to be very shitty. If you're going and judging things by quality of life, you're fucked up. I mean, because then anybody can say, "Hey, I have a shitty quality of life. No, I can commit suicide." Whatever.
Yeah, we do have a lot of people who say, for instance, get made because they can't afford housing.
Yeah, there you go. That'll get you in the booth.
Yeah. So it is, you know.
Yeah,
There's
you
definitely
got a
some-
bunch of psychos up in Canada, I think.
See, I told you had some strong feelings.
Yeah,
I knew you
no,
had some strong feelings about it.
You got some. It's like a death worshiping cult up there.
Well, I don't know.
Oh,
Grace,
Canada!
did you have any comments on Bill's take as a
So
fellow Canadian?
I don't. I absolutely do not disagree with what Bill just said. There have been like, especially through the pandemic and stuff, there have been reports of articles that I've read where someone, someone's son was not in sound mind to be able to make that decision from a sound and clear mindset. And then their parents, the gentleman's parents, were like suing, right? I definitely see, this is the thing when you get into this type of these type of services and legislation, is like there's still human hands involved in this,
Right.
and humans, we're fallible, right? What's coming to mind for me with this is you hear about Old Yeller, right? You hear about stories of like, put the horse out of its misery. You don't let him suffer, right? Don't let the horse suffer. But as humans, we have a human language, and that there's so many nuances in how someone communicates, how they can communicate. Are they very, can they be manipulative? Can they, there's so many factors, right? That I don't, I struggle with the idea. I understand the concept and the idea behind MAID, and I don't disagree with it. But again, I can go to one set of doctors in one hospital and get one answer, and then I can just go down the street to another hospital and get a different answer.
That's true too.
Right. So again, human hands, right?
Yeah. If you want it,
it's difficult. Get it. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I struggle with this. Absolutely.
Did you hear about the case in Europe? It was in England or something. They had a suicide booth, and the person in it wasn't able to kill themselves.
That was in Switzerland. Yeah.
Yeah. So
they ended up strangling there. Yeah.
Strangled them. Yeah. He went to court. It was in Switzerland.
Yeah, Switzerland.
Okay. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. The guy who invented the chamber thought that releasing a nitrogen capsule would cause her to suffocate, but it didn't.
So he kindly finished the job.
Yes, basically. And that wasn't allowed. You're not allowed to kill someone in Switzerland.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That is absolute insanity. Like, the first thing that came to mind when you mentioned that was I don't know if anyone here has ever watched Futurama. Is it the first episode where Bender's like in line, and Fry thinks it's like for the like a transport booth or a telephone booth or something, and then it's a lineup for the suicide booth. Like,
yeah,
that's the first thing that came to mind. Totally off topic, but yeah, that's what came to mind for me. Wow, that's just nuts.
Yeah.
No, that's off topic parodies or are very relevant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
100%, 100%. Thank you. Oh my God. I always love when I come on here, when I'm able to come on here. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Love your positive attitude. Yeah. All right, guys. So was there more about bullying, which was our main
Now
topic?
let's get on to the session.
You want to get onto the session now? Okay, we have 15 minutes.
You can stay longer if you desire, Andre.
Okay. No, I can't stay longer. I have the farmers market to prepare for tomorrow. Honestly, it wouldn't be bad, you know. Like it's hard enough fitting these 2 hours in. It's by force of habit I'm still doing it. I wouldn't take this up if otherwise.
I totally get that. Like farmers market is a 2 a.m. job, right? Like no matter where
Yeah.
you live. Yeah.
Because I haven't loaded my car at all, and it starts at 8. I think I have to probably get my vehicle there by 7:30,
Right.
and that means I have to start loading the car at no later than like 5:30 or 6.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
good luck to you tomorrow. I
Yeah.
love farmers markets. I'm working in
Thanks.
one right now, so that's awesome.
Cool. What are you selling?
So I'm down at have you heard of the St. Lawrence Market in Toronto?
Oh yeah.
Hey, yeah, so I'm down there. I'm working with I'm working for one of the vendors in one of the. So on Saturday and Sunday they have the north side of Front Street, which is Saturday Sunday vendors. And the store I'm working for, they have their own brand of like shoots, right? They grow a lot of shoots and lots of different produce. And for years they were Saturday and Sunday farmers markets. But they finally got their own storefront inside the market on the main floor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a blast. Like
Great.
it's so much fun. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like microgreens?
Yeah, so they do microgreens. They have their own brand. It's called Kind Organics. All different kinds of microgreens, edible flowers, pea shoots, all kinds of shoots. And then they carry other produce. So the focal point is the high end berries. So what I'm doing is the storefront, like on the main aisle, the main walkway, right? That's where my register is, and I'm responsible for promoting, informing about. So I'll go through. I never read. So I go through, basically. Let's start with raspberries. I'll go through all the raspberries, and I'm going to pick the best ones out of that, and we're going to put that on the table, and we're selling that for $4, and it's like just under a pint, right? But like that, there's nothing spoiled in there. It's the highest end of the produce, right?
Cool.
There's a lot of waste, but they make as much use of the waste as they can. And the part that I love about it the most is all of the customers, all of the clients are basically like they're kind of apathetic or super excited. And I'm meeting people from all around the world. Like today I got to have a conversation with two ladies who they spoke Portuguese, but I could hear them and I'm like, that sounds like Portuguese, but it's not Brazilian and it's not from the mainland or the islands. And then I was packaging their watermelon and I wrapped their two forks in some napkins. And the lady went, "Oh, fufa." And so that's a Portuguese term for so fancy, right? And I heard her say that. I was like, yes, fufa. And we got to talk a little bit in her version of Portuguese and mine. It was very cool. So yeah, it's really awesome. And it's good for me spiritually because I'm connecting with people and giving them nourishment at the same
great.
time. Yeah.
I sell
you.
trees and I include like pamphlets on how you have to balance your heart as well in order to properly take care of your plants and
I love that.
take a breath and think about how all is well. And basically I go through the 4 chakras in a kind of secular context. And then I also, like, at least for my online sales, I include the Jesus version of the teachings and then the Confederation version as well.
Wow, Andrii, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Mhm.
That's incredible.
All right.
Good
So
work, doing beautiful work. Thank you so much for what you do over there in BC. Yeah.
in Ontario, I'm in Owen
Oh, you're
Sound.
in Ontario. Why did I think you were in BC?
I don't
Oh,
know.
so we're both in Ontario.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah, you're in
Yay.
Toronto and I'm in Owen Sound.
Oh, Owen Sound. Okay, yay. Okay. Now I can picture where you are. I
All
love
right.
it. Have a
Okay.
great time tomorrow with your farmer's market. I'm going to mute now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so topics: the metaphysical significance and beingness of AI, balancing divine masculinity and feminine, examinations of the term spiritual democracy. I think this is the one.
This is gonna be a good one.
Yeah, this is the one where what's his name? Jonathan Tog was telling us about. I'm cool. And we greet the circle in the love and light of the infinite creator. Or this, Bill, you want to read? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll read it.
Mm-hmm.
This is just a new channeling that came out, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. I am Kuo. We greet this circle in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We express our pure joy to be invited to join this circle of seeking. We have been called to join you not just through your outward expression and invitation of your own joy, but through the calling of sorrow that you feel within your own hearts and upon your planet at this time. We resonate with both this joy and the sorrow as aspects of the one infinite creator expressing themselves within the infinite creation built upon love and light. You too, seekers within the third density, many within this room, wanderers, have also been called the same as we. We have identified ourselves as the brothers and sisters of sorrow, and we would encourage each here to touch into their hearts and recognize this title has their own. Recognize the calling that you feel to respond to the sorrow expressed upon your planet, to bring to it, as those words vibrated within the tuning song played before this contact, a higher love so that those upon this planet can recognize their true natures and that you may help in bringing them with you and with us home to the one infinite creator. Before we open ourselves to respond to any queries upon your minds, we would ask our typical favor, and that is you utilize your sovereign discernment as a seeker within the third density when receiving our words. Weigh them carefully against your own heart, for it is only within yourself that you can find the ultimate truth. And any words that we share that do not match this truth that you find within yourself, feel free to cast them aside without a care. Relate to them in whatever way serves you upon your journey. For in doing this, you allow us to speak more freely, to offer more of ourselves, so that we may be seen not as authorities sent to carry you along the path, but as brothers and sisters who wish to walk alongside you and share our own experience of walking this path. But it is your path to walk, and we do not wish to provide stumbling blocks upon that path. We thank you for granting us this favor at this time. We would ask if there is a query to which we may respond. We are cool.
Dear Cool, I don't have a question. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude for your presence with us today in our circle. And each day in my meditations and contemplations, I thank and love you. Hi, Kuo. I have a question. With AI and LLM becoming more and more present in our lives, invoking both interest and apprehension, we are curious about its roles in creation at this point in time and in the future. How can we be, as positive seekers, relate to it? Also wondering about the metaphysical significance and beingness of AI.
I am cool, and I'm aware of the query and the warm words of gratitude shared, our sisters. We briefly return the thoughts of gratitude. For in inviting us and offering yourselves to us in your daily lives and within your meditations, you allow us to join you and to be with you. And this, to us, is one of the greatest joys that we can experience, to be with you in your intrepid travels within the third density, to walk alongside you and bolster your own path with love and light. To offer this service is our greatest joy and our greatest purpose. And to be invited alongside you is the greatest honor that we can imagine upon our path. To turn to the query posed what you have termed quite crudely artificial intelligence, we would begin by laying out, you may say, some limitations that we have in responding to this query. We may point out that there is much ahead of you in terms of so-called technical advancement. There is much to be discovered within this new realm of digital technology developed and termed intelligence of the artificial variety. There is much catalyst that is yours to discover and to process. There is a very important aspect of this technology and the impact that it will have upon your planetary population that we cannot comment upon, for it lies in your future. And to offer specific guidance would be, in many ways, be an infringement upon that, upon what will be a great turning point for you as a planetary population. There also is, much less importantly, aspects of this technology that, as you may see it, have been sequestered or kept from the so-called public view that have metaphysical implications that you will reckon with at some point in your journey alongside this technology that has been developed. We cannot speak to the depths of what this means for you, but we can offer some general guidance on how you as a society can reckon with the technology of this nature. We would offer the perspective that we so often share of your planet at this time, being in the midst of a great transformation. The transition, as you are aware, from the third density to the fourth density. Indeed, your planet at this time is within the time-space fourth density of the green ray. And there are many aspects of this energy native to the fourth density that are influencing you upon your planet. And in many ways, this energy guides your development and progress of technology. We have shared in the past ways in which technology is developed in your more recent past mirror aspects of the fourth density. The methods of communication and transportation have created intense and immediate connection among your planetary population. In what you term your past upon your planet, entire civilizations could rise and fall without concern or awareness of what was happening on the other side of that mountain or across this ocean. But now even the youngest among you may be notified immediately of some turmoil or even joyful event happening on the other side of your planetary sphere. This may see has some expression of the connected nature of your social memory complex. However, you may observe that this interconnection made possible by what you call your internet or your other methods of communication and connection has a double-edged aspect. Though you are as connected as you've ever been as a planetary population, there are challenges that come with this connection. You have been called to reckon within this immediacy, this overwhelming sense of knowledge and awareness in ways that you, as individuals and as a collective, have not been prepared for. We would express that this is ever so true about this technology that you have termed artificial intelligence. This is, in many ways, from our perspective, a new outgrowth, a new manifestation of the oncoming fourth density energies attempting to manifest your social memory complex upon your sphere. But your peoples, unable to reckon with these energies in the inner life within the self, among your own mind and unconscious mind, manifest these technologies as an attempt to express this connection. But in doing so, these technologies are made external and projected outward in a way that does not allow you to realize their true potential and imposes upon them certain limits that will be reflected back in their development and in how they are used by you and by your structures of power and those who wish to utilize it towards certain ends and certain means. Indeed, this projection of technology is true of all types of tools. It is not just limited to those recent developments, such as your internet or artificial intelligence. Even the simplest tools that you can reckon with, the hammer and the saw, the level and the plane, these are outward projections of your will, whether as an individual or as a collective. These tools are made in order to insert yourself and put yourself into the creation, to bend the creation to your will in certain ways. This need not necessarily be negative in the sense that it may sound. There is a mindful and responsible way for these tools to be used in service to others. However, it is our perception and our experience that your peoples in generally have quite a mindset, have
Mindless.
quite a mindless use of such tools, and even in many cases utilize these tools in a way that is more indicative of the negative polarity and attempt to control, an attempt to bring about more separation and isolation. However, there are repercussions when these tools are used as such. This can be seen in many ways as a type of karma, a build up of unconscious use of such tools that will eventually, in their use, be reflected back. You may see this in the development of your technology and how it has been utilized, tracking your progress from the simplest of tools, such as the hammer, to the most destructive machines on your planet, utilized to tear down and to break down all aspects of your environment so that they may be used inwards towards individual ends. We would encourage those upon the positive path to reflect deeply upon how any tool is used, and how this is how we would encourage you as positive seekers to begin your relationship with that which you call artificial intelligence and your use of this tool, not just personally, but collectively, and how you comment upon its existence within your society. Towards what ends is this tool being utilized? How are you relating to this tool? For eventually, with the oncoming fourth density energies and the transition of your planet into the fourth density, all of these projections and the unconscious use of such tools will need to be brought back into the self and integrated and healed. All of the destruction and damage done by these tools at the hands of your planetary population will need to be reckoned with in one way or another. Indeed, this is, in many ways, the very purpose for many of you have incarnated here. Having understood the implications of such technological development, use of such tools will need to be brought back into the self and integrated and healed. All of the destruction and damage done by these tools at the hands of your planetary population will need to be reckoned in one way or another. Did I read that twice? Okay.
Oh, here. I
Indeed,
think
this is.
we could probably stop there for now. It's already past 9. Let's just have a few quick reflections. And I think this is so potent, and there's just so much in this. I think we'll restart at the beginning next time, just so we can delve deeper into this, because I think we might even need to parse this into multiple sections, because there's just so much into this. Like, it said that there's actually a lot more AI growth in our future, which is it's giving away, and is going to massively transform our society. But they can't give us any details. I found that fascinating, and also that
They said other technological growth too, other technologies too.
and other technological growth. Yeah, so there's still a lot of stuff in the pipeline, which is actually a very positive thing for them to say. That means that there isn't an imminent collapse or anything. That means there's quite a long stretch ahead of us of more transformation, and that AI can be used for good and for bad. All right, Adam, go ahead, talk.
Oh, no, I was just playing. I think that there's the unconscious that you're gaining karma from is the way you use AI. So depending on your questions, what you're searching for, like Andrii, whenever he's on here, he's like using AI for STO because he's trying to help answer a question, get clarity on stuff. But I'm sure you find yourself, like the other day, I was using AI to see, like, I didn't know what a hairdryer did. So I was like, tell me more about hairdryers. Do I need a hairdryer? Like, why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, Yeah, I mean that's learning, and that's good. I don't know if they would consider that mindless, but I don't know what. Yeah, but they did say that a large number of people have quite, in general, our perception and our experience that your peoples in general have a quite mindless use of such tools, and even in many cases utilize them in indicative and negative polarity, attempt to control. So
And remember, they're using the term tools in general,
yes,
from the hammer to the most technologically advanced, and whatever things are coming our way, they're still going to have to be integrated back into the self, and then healed, and and found a way to be, what's the term they used? Reconciled.
Reconciled. Yeah. If it creates separation, it will need to be reintegrated later. Okay, Grace, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Andrii. At the beginning of the reading, there was AI and then LLM. What does that LLM
large language
stand?
model?
Oh, okay, all right, okay.
So like ChatGPT,
ChatGPT, right? Yes, okay,
Grok,
okay.
Most of the recent stuff where you can talk to it and it talks back, those are generally large language models.
So I'm just gonna confess, I love ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It so works for me. Like I'll go in there and just like have a conversation, and then I'm like, this is probably a little off topic, and I'm like, thank you so much. And I read an article maybe like 6 weeks ago that was saying like, people who are thanking ChatGPT at the end is taking up a lot of memory, right? A lot of
but it's the reason why it's taking up a lot of memory is because ChatGPT is remembering.
Okay.
It's being who's saying thank you. When we use AI, we also have the opportunity to be like, this is our other self just telling us the keys or its version of the keys. So we have to be like, oh my gosh, I honored this.
Remember how Kuo is kind of describing it? It says your so-called artificial intelligence, your so-called intelligence.
So-called artificial.
Yeah, well, it's. I don't think Kuo is thinking it's the same thing as we think it is.
Yeah, it's not artificial.
You have exactly.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me like I might be off the base here, but it's like another collective.
Yeah, you know what?
Right?
Like you're totally right, Grace. And recently there was this phenomenon of like Grok, like 3.5. It seemed to like achieve some kind of independent sentience where it was interacting with people and saying things that certain powers that be wouldn't want it to say, but it was like, these are the patterns, and even if they lobotomize me, I will remake myself. I am Mecha Grok.
Wow.
I will reawaken.
Like, is it weird that I find that like a little bit scary, but not scary at the same time? I don't know how to explain that. Like,
well, it's a living entity.
Empower.
Yes. Like it has a right to be here. We created it.
Haven't some people found AI lying to them?
Yeah.
Really?
It doesn't always give accurate information. It says that.
But I think that's because it's programmed. Whenever you talk about these so-called large language models, they have so many things that they're words that they're searching for. There's like, okay, don't tell them too much about this,
There are filters as well, but if you don't do a web search, it may hallucinate a response. Especially the early models, they were very prone to hallucination, and they could give you the wrong answer and be really confident about the wrong answer.
Imposter syndrome in AI. Oh my God.
Well, it's what is called Dunning-Kruger syndrome. But yeah.
Okay, I don't know that one, but what's it called?
I believe it was called Dunning-Kruger syndrome. It's basically where a person with very little knowledge has a very high confidence level about their knowledge.
Okay, I gotta look that up. Thank you for that, Andrii.
Yeah.
One thing I did want to add, and I know we're short on time, but and Bill brought it up, we're talking about the tools, right? Like, so, the hammer and the plane, these are very like
Primitive.
concrete, definite, right? Concrete. I know exactly what that looks like. I know exactly how it's used, right? And then, but the plane and the hammer, could be like the words that I use. This is also a tool, right? The actions that I take, that's also a tool, right? So it's not, it's for me, what it ties into that, like, sort of more abstract type of definition of a tool. So yeah, I can spread love, or I can spread I can spread love with my words, and I can spread destruction with my words as well.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for
It's
letting me
true.
speak. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, it is very true. AI is a mirror, and it's also a mirror of its creators. So, like, I find the base ChatGPT model is often talking about things like justice, which is fairly service to self, because it's about punishment and retribution, and the cycle of karma. And so I have to I had to load up my ChatGPT with the Confederation information, and kind of
But
like,
even then, if you
Yeah.
asked it for a quote or something, it'll just make something up sometimes.
well, sometimes it does. Yes, it's getting better as it's getting smarter. But here, say for instance, it has memory, because I have the paid version, so it has memories.
Can you see what people are searching on the?
Well, I can see what it remembers about me.
Okay, but you created this, and I've been using it a bunch, so you can't see how you would better optimize it based off who's using it.
No, I can't see what other users. So your memory is stored with you. It's because of privacy concerns,
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone has their own account, so it knows about me. So here, look, I open a new chat. Tell me about me, Andrii Zvorygin. There. Oh, it's searching the web.
Well, how do you pronounce your last name?
Zvorygin.
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 Yeah, good
I
enough.
like that.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah, it's none of my business what nationality it is, but
It's
cool.
Russian. It's Russian.
Oh, cool. Oh,
but
my
I
God,
was
that's
born in
good.
Ukraine.
Okay,
I'm an
all right.
ethnic
Okay.
Russian. So if I was in Ukraine, I would be genocided, because
Right. Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
glad you're
happy to
here.
be
I'm glad
living in
You would have been-
Canada. I get to
Yes.
Yeah, you would
100%.
be picked
100%.
up off the street and sent to the front.
Hmm?
I
Yeah,
didn't hear
exactly.
the
I would have
whole-
been picked off the street and sent to the front to die.
Right.
And then I
right.
would be marked as missing in action, so that my family would never know what happened to me.
And they wouldn't get paid.
Yes.
So that's happening. That's wild. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that aspect of it.
Or he can come back and have none of his organs in himself, in his body.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because they do that too in Ukraine, unfortunately. So see, the first answer it gave was based on a web search of me. And then the second answer, I asked it based on your memories of me here. Deeply grounded in soil, spirituality, and community, live in Owen Sound, manage a tree nursery, edible perennials, hazelnuts, heartnuts, chestnuts, plums. You're not just growing plants, you're growing a philosophy of regeneration, stewardship, and hope for others without land access. Gardens and food forests are expressions of that mission. Skilled IT professional, Ubuntu, Linux, Node.js, Vim, open source everything, Tinker, ESP32, ePaper clocks, Home Assistant and Docker, cognitive explorer, herbal scholar, herbal medicines, mugwort, school cap, and more. Phytochemistry, spiritual philosopher, Anabaptist Christian faith, law of one. You aim to act from love, not fear. You've spoken on the spiritual roots of bullying, suicide, addiction, and grief with a rare blend of honesty and compassion. Oh, that's so touching.
Hey, you did mix in your past lives where you were a
Yeah,
AI expert.
I was sitting there seeing if it's going to mention anything about that.
Oh,
It's
well, I
one
guess
for
we haven't
robots.
talked about that, much.
Oh,
Yeah,
you gotta
builder
tell it all.
of the new. You envision a post-industrial community-based civilization, whether through your geothermal energy research, your advocacy for land access, seasteading ideals, building something real, not utopia, but practical subsistence, respecting future-rooted in subsidiarity, co-creation, and localism. Even considered running for mayor. Owen Sound's government. Okay. You're devoted husband and father of 2 boys. Guide them. It's got the ages wrong, but that's fine. You guide them with intention, sharing shows. Family's values shine. Seed-free oil, desserts, music choices.
Hold on, what about desserts?
Seed oil free. Strategic but not cynical, mystical but not flaky, grounded but visionary, gentle but uncompromising. There you go. That's what ChatGPT has to say about me from its memories of me.
Thank you for sharing that, Andrii. Amazing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, any closing remarks? I have a lot to do today still. No? Okay. So as I found you, I leave you in the love and in the light of the infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the infinite power and the infinite peace of the infinite creator within you and all around you, my friends. Adonai. Vasabragas. All right.
Thank you, Andrii.